Yeah, the movement just started. JH forever, forever. From the jump, the fam showed up, showed out. New friends, real ones.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Cut. We got a really special edition today. We have my cousin Tate Hale. He is a very special person to me, one of a kind person, someone that I've looked up to for a long time, and he's got a really special story to share. And once we get into this, you'll understand why. So, Tate, thanks for being on with us.
Oh man, it's an honor, Jake, and watching you go out in the world and take your place in it, and the things you're doing, not only with your company but for the youth, man. That inspires me deeply and has motivated me to not give up in my own journey when times get hard. And the easy thing to do would be give up. But when you have great people around you that are always pushing you to be great, it makes it a lot easier getting through those times. So thank you, and I'm honored that you would see me fit to come on and help your brand and help your message in any way I can.
Yeah, and first things first, at the end of the day, we're really trying to build a culture. Mm-hmm. We're trying to build a culture of support, a culture of information, and a culture of creation. That's our biggest thing. And I think that being able to have these podcasts, have these conversations, we're having everybody from, players to coaches to, now you're going to be a motivational speaker. You do podcasts like crazy, and the story, if you haven't followed the story on Instagram, is incredible. We're going to have barbers on. It's just really just talking and having conversation of life, the journey of life, and everybody's got their own story. You've got a really, really unique one that I can't wait to cover. But I think it's something that each and every person is going to be kind of hit different with each one of these stories, and one story is going to help better than the other, or relate better than the other. So we want to just be dynamic as possible. I think this one is going to hit hard. It's going to be a wild ride for some of you. So let's go straight into it. Let's talk about your youth.
Yeah, I was born with what's called bilateral congenital vertical talus. It's a very rare birth defect that normally occurs in just one foot. I guess I was lucky and had it in both feet. And it really, didn't hold me back through my youth other than experiencing chronic pain. Like at 5 years old, I remember I had 3 older brothers, and we grew up out in the country, and you're in the country, you're always outside playing. And I remember I'd always have to sit down and get off my feet, and I'd look at my older brothers and be like, well, why aren't that? And literally my first memory of okay, something's different was when I'd sit down and I could feel my pulse beating out the bottom of my feet. They hurt so bad. But like I said, it never really, to me, it was all I knew and never held me back. And like you, I was highly involved in athletics, and football seemed to be kind of my path, and excelled at it, and was being recruited. I did hear from some schools out of the Big Ten, mostly Minnesota. They were the one that really kind of was writing often, and a lot of Division II, Division III schools. But it was funny, every time back then they would send the cards like, how many times you bench press 225, you're 110, and then the last thing was always surgery or operations. And by that time I was 6-7 deep on complete feet reconstructive surgeries. We're talking severing Achilles tendons, lengthening 3-inch screws up the back of the heel, bones out, bones in, and I never heard back from any of these schools. And kind of put a chip on my shoulder, and it also kind of put a chip on my shoulder with the man upstairs. Why would you give this to someone who wants to be an athlete, who wants to be athletic? Why not give it to someone who wants to be behind computers? So that started, I guess, the the rise of some maybe bad mental thoughts and mental thinking, and did go to a Division III. They's like, hey, we'll take you. And 2 weeks into my career, the bone mass in the leg I still have that's not amputated, the whole bone mass shifted during practice and crushed my planar nerve and planar artery. Foot went numb. The left side of it's still numb today. The next day, I'm up at Columbus meeting with my surgeon, and he just simply come in, put the x-rays up, said, you're done. I couldn't take you out of high school because every year you had surgery, but you just came back bigger, faster, and stronger. But I will not let you play college football because if you keep going like this, you won't walk when you're 40. And that was tough to hear, man. I remember instantly I just broke down, and my mom was there and just kind of fell into her arms, and the athletic dream was over right then. And that was the start of some negative living for a few years that I'm not proud of, but it's part of the story. And looking back on it, those years can help people, I believe, more than that perfect living, shining example can.
Yeah, I mean, that's, unfortunately, it's a touchy subject, and it's not the, nicest subject to go into, but, like, what was that? What is that dark living that you talk about?
Well, it's funny, when I speak with athletic teams, I tell them this was the time that I abandoned everything that made me successful in athletics. Discipline, being around the right people, doing the right things, and our conscious knows, man, we know. So I quit being disciplined. I got out of the gym, first thing. I got around the wrong people, and it led to drugs and alcohol and chasing women. And unfortunately there wasn't kind of a drug that I haven't tried or done, and a lot of drinking, and just every night looking in the mirror and just hating who you are, but not caring. Like, you felt like you lost your why, like because your whole life you're praised for physical ability, and that's where you think that's what makes me who I am, and that's what makes me special. And then you can no longer perform, so you're worthless is how you perceive it. And that carried on for a few years, more years than I care to admit. And then eventually, man, it just, I think the Lord let me go through it because he knew I had to, because he knew I could help people. And I remember the day that it kind of all clicked, and it all kept going back to losing the game of college football. I just actually prayed, because I never prayed, and I actually prayed, and I said, why? Because I had to know why. Yeah. And I felt him tell me that because what I have given you with your birth defect and how I allowed you to live for these years is going to make such a bigger and more impactful impact on others than playing 4 years of college Division III football ever could for my kingdom. And that was kind of the start of the turnaround. It wasn't perfect. I tell people it's like this, man, when you start on a journey of turning your life around, it's like, think of like having a glass of Kool-Aid. Yeah. And setting it under a faucet and turning that clear water on. Well, there's so much darkness in that glass. It's going to take a while for all that clearness, the purity, to drive that out. Yeah. And eventually, man, all the darkness comes out and your cup is full of light and pureness. And that's kind of how my journey was.
Dude, that's so cool. I mean, obviously, I've known you forever.
He was right there.
Kind of know the story and things like that. It was very hard to see you go through all of that, just in the fact that you were such an incredible football player, let alone with 2 nub feet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were out there doing it with the best of them and could do it with the best of them, and it just wasn't plausible for you to really move on doing it.
Yeah, man, when you're in high school and at halftime you have to have your cleats taken off and the athletic trainers are massaging your feet down with Flexol, just to keep them warm enough and loose enough to go play the second half. I should have probably seen the writing on the wall that college wasn't going to happen or was for me. But brother, you're a Hale.
Yeah.
You know the blood that's in us, man. Tell us we can't do something.
Right.
You know? And we just are bullheaded, man. We get that from our grandpa and our dads. We're just bullheaded.
Yeah.
And that's how I was with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't take your love away from the game. It's something that you poured your whole life into, and you know, like you said it perfectly. It was our identity, you know, and that's a hard thing to step away from. I mean, I remember when I stepped away from baseball just because I had the back injury, and you know, it wasn't worth, you know, getting out of bed, crawling over to the desk to stand up, and then go get in the shower for 2 hours just to go to the field, to get in the shower for another hour and a half of the hottest water I could stand, just to get my body moving, and then knowing when I was done what it was going to be like, and then getting on a bus ride, and you know,
you lost the why. You know, and that's what when I speak to athletes, I tell them you got to have a why to swing your feet out of bed in the morning. And all these speakers, they talk about a why, a reason so strong that you'll do anything to achieve the goal. But the way I like to teach it is, it's when you think of that why, it is so powerful that it moves your emotions to tears.
Right.
And when you're in that kind of pain, man, it's hard to find that drive and to go to that why and be moved to tears when you're already in tears because of the physical thing you're trying to work through.
I mean, it was such a hard thing. I remember I spent like 10 grand on my back in the off season, going to all these different types of specialists and trying all of these different things, and to have to, you know, you're getting phone calls, hey, like, you want to sign, or you want to do this, and you know, you don't want to. At least for me, I didn't want to sign something or get with a team and be able to show up or not show up and be like, look, this just ain't gonna work. You know, it was. I mean, I remember, you know, getting stuck in certain positions for like 3 to 4 minutes because I was afraid if I moved, my back was physically going to explode out of my body. And I mean, it was such heartbreaking whenever I was like, I'd try to jog. I'd like take 2 steps. I'm like, oh, God. Like, it was just like, God, what happened? You know what I mean? And it was
All
hard.
time, man.
Dude, it was
undefeated.
Undefeated.
He's undefeated.
You know, but you know, it was hard, you know, and like you talked about your transition, you know, how God kind of spoke to you and really put it in perspective. You know, when that happened, what was your next move? Can you remember, like, from when the realization of it, and like, next move?
It was for me, man. Training and working out has always just, I think, through athletics, have been a staple. So I was like, all right, first thing is we got to start developing some sort of discipline. You know, as Jocko Willink says, discipline equals freedom. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think, well, if I'm free to do whatever I want, when I want, well, that's freedom. No, it's not. You're actually a slave to ego, a slave to slothfulness. And when you're disciplined, you reach a level that nothing shakes you. And that, to me, is true freedom. But so discipline through training, and then the next thing was, okay, how can we, if not completely alleviate physical pain, how can we at least take a big part of that away? And that was when I really got serious about meeting with the surgeons again to see what we could do, and that was when the surgeon told me what I see as my final prognosis is amputating your feet below the knee, and I really got serious about that journey. And in 2015, September 15th, that was what we did. We went in for amputation of that right foot.
Dude, that's got to be incredibly hard. You know, I mean, going in and making the decision to physically take a part of you away. I mean, What was it like in the moments, like going in, like whenever they were starting to wheel you back? Were you rethinking it?
Well,
Were you...
no, two crazy stories I'll share about this, because I have since I kept this very private for a while, because man, I didn't want to think people like how people may think of me, like, dude, this guy's off his rocker. But it was so freaking real that I'm not ashamed of it, man. And I've learned how to deal with my ego. I was very fortunate to, I had a kind of second family in my life that there was some money in that family, and they said I was struggling with making the call to the surgeon. They said, hey man, come down. He owned a beautiful mansion right on the Gulf of America down in Florida. And I said, you know, I'll bring my jet up, pick you up, fly you down here, and just spend a couple weeks, you know, on the private beach, get yourself ready for this, and you can make that call. Now I remember the day came that I promised myself, okay, today's the day I'm going to call the surgeon and schedule this surgery. And I go down, oddly enough, it was called Barefoot Beach, and I'm walking on the beach, and I all right, time to call. And man, this fear and anxiety overcame me. And dude, tears started running down my face, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't. And I didn't make the call. So I went back up to the house, and I called Pastor Mark, the pastor at the church down there. And I was like, dude, I couldn't do it, and I can't do this. So we just talked, and he spoke life into me. He said, you know, tomorrow's another day. And I was like, all right. So the next day, man, same thing, walking the beach, get ready, pull my phone out, and just get overcome with fear, dude, and tears are streaming down my face. And I it's almost like I just kind of went into a daydream, just walk out into the Gulf, and I'm like at knee to thigh deep. And I heard it is I'm saying these words. I heard, I promise you, there will be pain like you've never experienced, but I promise through it all, I will give you peace, and I will never leave your side. And like the calm and peace that came over me, and I remember kind of looking up the beach like, did anybody else hear that? Like, because I know what I freaking heard, man.
Yeah.
And just this calmness and peace, dude, that came over me. And like, dude, I turned around and like trot up out of the Gulf, pick my phone off the towel, call the surgeon. Yeah, for Dr. French, when can we do? September? Awesome. The 15th? Awesome. Send me the details. And it was like such a big shift. Now, was I nervous? Of course. But dude, I remember the day of, because God never lies, he can't lie. The day of surgery, I'm laying in pre-op in the bed, and I remember when they said it's time to tell your friends and family bye. Looking up at my friends and family and like seeing the worry on their faces. And dude, I was smiling. Because that peace that he promised, dude, I was at such peace. And I told him, I was like, y'all, it's going to be fine. And I'll see you in a few hours. And they're willing me back, man. And the whole way to the OR, I just kept thanking Jesus. I was like, thank you, like, for this, because I was so at peace. It was like I literally could feel the Holy Spirit walking beside the bed with the nurses and doctors as they were taking me back. And as we turned through the door, my surgeon's standing there still in street clothes. I thought that was odd, but just gave him some knuckles. I said, I appreciate you and what you're doing for me today, brother. And the next thing I woke up and the post-op, it's over.
Hey, that's so crazy. I mean, it's amazing, you know, how that one shift can change everything. You know what I mean? And it's taking you to a place of calm, and it's like, dude, I'm
peace, man.
Getting my fucking leg cut off right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
when they say peace that passes all understanding, that's the perfect. How can you be at peace when you're literally getting your leg taken off?
Right.
Yeah. But I was, man.
That's so crazy.
And a cool cool. I just want to share on the back end of this, because I said he told me, and there'll be pain like you'll never have yet to experience. And I've been in some good pain, man, with all my surgeries post-op.
You said he couldn't lie.
Yes. And he didn't, bro. Trust me, he didn't. The second night, I remember, like, dude, it was bad. And the nurse come in, and I said, ma'am, can you knock me out? Like, just knock me out.
Yeah.
I cannot feel this no more. She's like, we can't do that because we heart rate dropping. She said, but we'll try to make you comfortable. And I just like remember rolling my head over the side, and there was a red like recliner, pleather recliner in the corner. And dude, I just felt like something was setting in that chair that was peaceful. And once again, man, this peace came over me, and I just fell asleep. The next morning I wake up, and I remember my family that had come up to visit the next day. They's like, dude, what happened overnight? Because yesterday you looked horrible when we left, and you look great today. And the matter of fact, they was like, yeah, he made such a big shift, he can go home tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but the whole thing of, man, he didn't lie.
Yeah.
There was pain like I'd never experienced, but through it all, I will never leave your side, and I will give you peace.
So you still got one left.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's still in the same situation. The foot hasn't changed. I know that before you went into surgery, you even told me, it's like, you know, it's creeping up to my knees, and then it's going to go to my hips, and I'll be in a wheelchair by I'm 40, you know. You're older than 40 now, so we made it past the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Is there a plan for the other one? Or are you going to try to ride it out, or like, what's your plan there?
I'm in a spot right now where I'm not completely confident in my plan yet. Right now, we are kind of riding it out. But unfortunately, goes back to us being bullheaded, man. I just wanted, I told myself I want to keep that foot as long as I possibly can. And I ended up ruining the knee and had to have a total knee replacement. And 2021, I believe, they went in and did a left total knee replacement, and unfortunately it wasn't successful. The knee actually hurts worse now than it did before the replacement. And then the following year they went back in and did a revision surgery to see if they could correct it a little bit, and it helped some, but still not at all what I've heard a total knee replacement is supposed to be. So right now we're just like, okay, figuring out with the surgeons, and we're really going to make a push this spring to get this kind of nailed down. If we take the foot off, because that's the foundation, will walking in the prosthetic alleviate enough weight into the knee that it won't bother it? Or, hey man, we can't give you that guarantee, then possibly look at just going above the knee and taking it off above the knee and being done with it. And for the first time in my 44 to 46 years of life, wherever we're at when this falls, once I'm out of the post-op pain, being pain-free in my life.
So right now your first amputation is below the knee.
Yeah.
Talk about what would be the difference about going above the knee.
I laugh because I've been real fortunate to meet a lot of guys in the ex-military in the adaptive community, you know, as an amputee. And the ones that are above the knee, they call us below knee people paper cuts. Yeah, because that's how big that knee joint is.
Oh
like,
my!
Yeah, it's great, man.
Cuts.
Yeah. Like, what? I'm missing a limb. Yeah, paper cut. Yeah.
Dude, that's so funny.
Yeah. But that's how big that knee joint is, because you either have to have a hydraulic knee or a computerized knee that, you know, can sense your gait and pounds per pressure, and it adapts to the way you walk. But the big thing is you use a lot, from what I've understood and talking to them, it's a lot more of the hip engagement to swing the leg as opposed to just that knee, man. It's everything. That knee is everything.
Dang, it's
Yeah.
that's a tough decision to make.
Yeah,
You know what I
it
mean?
is, man. It is, but I got a great example, man. I've become really good friends with a dude down in Tucson, Arizona. He's ex-Special Forces, Green Beret. Was on a kill capture mission during the war, and an IED got him and took off his legs, one above, one below. He really won't talk about it, but I guess there was a reporter that was on that mission, and she wrote a book about him because he's not that way. He's not going to talk about it. But she said, you know, like the accident happened, and he literally applied his own tourniquets, told his team to finish clearing the house. Once the house was clear and he knew everybody was safe, the way I understood it, then he kind of went out and he said, I woke up in Germany, and that was that story. But watching him, dude, we connected through Instagram because he seen me as a bow hunter and was kind of looking for something to get into. And he went up to Salt Lake through the Black Rifle Coffee Company and learned how to shoot archery. Fell in love with it. He now owns a premier archery pro shop in Tucson, Arizona. Big time bow hunter. And he's been great for me because I asked, I said, Caleb, are you in pain, dude? And he was like, no. He said, my mind is free, Tate. I would rather have a free mind than have my legs. If I walk 13 miles in the mountains of Arizona bow hunting elk, I might have to take a leave.
Yeah.
And dude, he's just a beast, man. Like nothing has slowed him down, and he's actually been encouraging me to like, hey, dude, just go for it. You know, he said limb salvage. I've seen it in the military. It just drags it out. So I want to encourage you to just go for it.
Yeah.
Know? But that's an example. You know, we can all find an example of someone who is where we want to be in life, and then attach ourselves to them, whether that be with disability, business, marriage, whatever, faith, whatever. Find someone who is in life where you want to be and attach yourself to that person.
So let's you kind of hinted on it a little bit. So you have gotten into the disabled outdoorsman, avid hunter. You know, obviously when we were kids, we were shotgun hunting and, you know, things like that in the hills of Ohio. And now you're pretty much strictly bow. Kind of talk about like how you got connected with Disabled Outdoorsmen. And then we'll kind of start talking about Braylon a little bit. You know, about that situation. So give us a little touch of, you know, how exactly you got connected with Disabled Outdoorsmen, what things that goes on, and how you can you know, people can connect with that, especially those with disabilities they're into hunting, you know. Like, let us know a little bit about that world.
Same thing. Social media, as much negativity and bad as there is on social media, there's equal amount of good being done.
As is life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they reached out through social media and had seen what I was doing and was like, hey man, we love what you're doing. We love your attitude in which the way you were doing it. And we just like to maybe get to know you a little bit. And we did. And that relationship turned into, they called one day and they said we had heard that your dream hunt is going out west for elk. And we would like to provide you with an all expense paid trip to Utah to hunt elk. And went out, and it was the trip of a lifetime, and we just connected, and that grew into something that I could get behind and support. And people ask, like, well, what was the best thing about your elk hunt? Obviously harvesting a bull elk during the rut when they're bugling, and that was beautiful. But one of the other recipients on the hunt was a young lady who's paralyzed. So she's in a wheelchair in the mountains. And we're getting ready to go in to set up for this hunt. And she's sitting in her wheelchair, and I'm just like, dude, here I am. Yeah, I'm in pain, but I'm going to walk in. How are they even going to get her through this terrain? And one of the people who were helping with the hunt was like, would it be easier for you if you got on his back? and literally she is being piggybacked around the mountains, man. And it just struck me, like, you can hear these elk bugling over on the mountain, and this beautiful young woman who will never take a step being piggybacked through the mountains, and the love and beauty of that moment. I was like, all right, I can be a part of this.
Yeah.
And later that winter, they said, we're getting ready to start an ambassador program, and you're exactly what we look for. And we'd love you to come on as an ambassador and work with us and help promote this and help get others into the outdoors. Whether it be, we don't just do hunting and fishing, we do other outdoor adventures. Like, we had a recipient last year. He wasn't a hunter or fisher, so we sent him and his family on a whitewater rafting trip. And they took trips around the state parks in Colorado. All expenses paid. The foundation pays for everything.
That's cool.
Yeah. Which it takes a lot of work and a lot of money. And we actually have our gala. We have a gala once a year at Pedrada's Ranch in San Antonio, Texas. This year it's on the 24th. And this year our goal is to do $1 million that night in funding.
Wow.
Yeah, last year I think
One night.
Last year, I'm pretty sure we did just over 680K.
Wow.
So this year, our goal is to go a million plus.
So, like, when you talk about hunting, I know there's a lot of, looking down upon things about hunting and things like that. And obviously, you and I know how this works. There is a place for sport hunting, but that's kind of not what we do.
Yeah.
Kind of let these guys know exactly how you view the hunting process, the why, so to speak.
Well, first and foremost, for food.
Right.
It is the purest form of organic protein that you can get. And it's animals that live a free-range life. They're never pinned up. And if you do it right, you try to let them reach maturity and even a little past maturity to where, they're not serving the herd any purpose because they can't breed. The younger, more mature, like in their prime animals are running them off, so they can't breed and produce, and then they're just eating food on the land that there's only so many mouths the land can feed.
Right.
So the numbers have to be managed. If not, animals starve to death, or they don't live a healthy, productive life. And that's what it's about. It's about actually protecting the animal. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of people think you're just bloodthirsty. No, man. Like, I know I am stopping a beating heart. Mm-hmm. And I don't take that. I take that with a lot of reverence. And every time I thank the animal for it literally gives me everything. It's life and provides me with food. And it's as simple as this, man. In the real world, the natural world, where before we colonized and civilized this planet, at its truest form, life eats life. Mm-hmm. That's just how it is. Now, some people want to come at me and call me murderer when you're going to the shop, handing over a piece of plastic and your credit card and paying others to do your killing for you, when I'm just being close to the process myself.
Yeah.
So you actually have no leg to stand on, because your hands are clean because you're not the one who killed and processed.
Well, I mean, you think about it too. If you go and you see some of the things at the slaughterhouse. I mean,
yeah.
And I believe this too, is in like how traumatic something dies actually still affects the meat.
Yes.
So this isn't a clean kill as much as it's fast, but the process to get to that fast kill is very aggressive.
Yeah, and there's no freedom in the way they live most of the time.
Yeah.
And I see a shift in that with ranching. They're doing a lot more of where these animals are out in pastures and living that way. But for the longest time, they're pinned up and they're pumped full of hormones to keep them healthy and not eating grass, but eating grain. So not the way that God or the universe, whatever you choose to believe, intended for it to be.
So what's it feel like when you first walk up on the animal after you've taken it?
First, it's sorrow
Yeah.
that I ended a life, but it's also gratefulness that I have the ability to still do it and provide the meat, not only for myself, but as my mom and dad get older, especially my dad, the one who gave me the gift of showing me that life. He can't really even go unless like I take him and physically put him in a blind and come back and get him when he's done and help him to the UTV and give him a ride. The strongest man in my eyes, my hero, to know that now I'm the one that are sharing my meat with my tribe.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, there's sorrow, but there's also thankfulness. And each time, before I start processing the animal, I will put some grass in its mouth and close its mouth so it has one last meal going into the afterlife.
That's wild. That's wild. I mean, to be that connected with what you're doing.
No.
I mean, everybody else kind of thinks it's like, you know, I'm out there shooting to kill for the amount of points on the rack, which it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But the bigger the rack, the more mature the animal.
Right.
You know, and that's what we want is people letting these animals reach maturity, breed, get past breeding age, and then the next generation comes in because they'll run those animals out of the herd.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what we want.
So that's really cool, man.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, you know, we talked about the Disabled Outdoorsmen. It's such a cool organization that really gives opportunity to those who, you know, either have the inability on their own or, you know, want that full-on experience. You know, it's one thing going out in the woods by yourself if you have the ability.
Yeah.
It's, you know, another when, you know, like you spoke on, like you're getting backpacked out into somewhere that you would have zero chance of going on your own, or even with just a friend or whatever the case, and having that full-on experience because the guides and everything are, you know, are the best of the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to really get that full-on, this is what actually happens in a true...
And the financial cost of some of these trips. Man.
Right.
Everything's covered from flights to the licensing tag, everything. We cover everything.
That's so cool, man. So you do some things with other disabled individuals, even in the area.
Yeah.
So we talk about Braylon. We have the little in our catalog, and we thought it was so special, you know, putting you and Braylon in the centerfold of our catalog, because, you know, we do things with purpose here. It's not just, you know, creating a product. Like I said, we're big on culture, and it's more than just a product. You know, it's something of an expression. You know, and it's an extension of you. Like, give us a little bit on Braylon's story, because he has a very unique story in his, and you know, what is he, 15?
No, he's I think 18 now.
18
he was a
now.
senior.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I think he actually completed his freshman year this past fall.
Wow.
Or he had just started at Ohio University. So he's a college boy.
Oh my God. He grew up so fast.
College boy. To tell you the truth, man, I didn't really know much about him. I had just seen this page on Facebook, Braylon Strong, of a young man who was stricken with cancer and kept getting these surgeries on his leg, and they think they'd make some progress, and then bam, right back in, man. The cancer come back and another surgery. And long story short, it came to a point where they ended up having to do amputation, and the amputation he went through is one of the most difficult amputations anyone can go through. It's called rotation plasty. And what they do is they cut your leg above the knee and then go right above your ankle and cut, and they take that section out. and then to keep the nerves and everything intact, and bring your ankle up to your femur and turn your foot backwards and reattach everything. So your foot is actually pointing backwards, and that foot is now your knee joint. So like the foot replaces the knee joint, that backwards foot, and it keeps its movement. However, the surgeons can keep everything working. Wow. And that foot becomes your knee joint. And that is the surgery he had, and as of now, he's doing great. His mother and me messaged when I sent her the news that amazing gesture that you guys did. Sent her the pictures and video of it, and she said we're actually in Cincinnati this week for a week full of scans, and we're just praying that everything is still clear. And so that's where he's at right now. He's in Cincinnati all week getting scans to make sure that he's still cancer free. Yeah.
That's a crazy surgery.
Yeah, and I don't want to misspeak, but I think his diagnosis happened around 12 to 13 years old. So from 12 to 17, going through all of that,
Yeah.
Most people would have given up, and for whatever's inside of him, he chose to fight, and it looks like he is absolutely thriving.
Yeah, so he was on the baseball team. We hooked him up with a few things, and he got a hit, right?
Yeah.
And that game you went and watched, and seeing him run to first, with a backwards foot on his leg, and that's incredible. I mean, the resiliency of the human body, mind, that is insane. I mean, when you think you're kind of down and out, or even on the outside looking in, it's like, how are you still going? It's incredible at what we can get through.
Yes.
As long as you don't give up, there at some point there's a breaking point, and it's like, I think one of the coolest things I've read, and it makes total sense, is up in the northern part of the U.S., you have some very resilient animals, right? So what's really cool is the story of the buffalo.
Yes.
As storms come in, like winter storms and things like that, a lot of animals run away from it, and the only animal that actually runs to it is the buffalo. Because even though as hard as it may be, they understand that if you go toward it, it passes faster. So they go through the heartache, the pain, and the suffering, because the endurance of what they're going to eventually come to is much shorter. You know what I mean? So they're the only animal who runs into the storm rather than away from it. So that's really that's
one
a really
thing
cool
I've
idea.
observed, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, and I look at things different, but do you notice how oftentimes during a storm, like right after the storm passes, the clouds open up and the sun shines again? It's almost like God or the universe's way of saying, okay, you endured the storm, now I'm going to show you the beauty of everything.
Yeah.
And that's the same way with how the buffalo, like you said, they put their head down and they run to the storm.
Yeah. So tell us what you're doing now. I know you do some things around the community here. What's your next steps?
One thing I'm really proud of is obviously you really can't see, but we come from a very small community. There's not even a stoplight. Matter of fact, this is the village of Albany. We are not even big enough to be considered a town. But I believe our country and our world is at a pretty serious crossroads right now. So to make change, I believe everything has to start in our local communities and work out from community to county to state to country to world. And I recently have started a podcast with a good friend of mine, he's an ex-Division college running back, Division I college running back, and is also a pastor. But we started a podcast called The Greater Than Sessions. The little hit tagline, it's strength in every scar. And the idea of it is that, no matter what we are faced with or what we come up with against this life, everything inside of us is greater than. We have the ability to be greater than all these trials, all these setbacks. And the feedback from the local community has been amazing. And when we first started, Justin's like, Tate, if we can just help our local community, we'll be doing something. And I admitted later to him, I said, dude, when you said that, I didn't say nothing, but I was like, no, that's not good enough. If we're not, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, or Real AF with Andy Frisella, if we're not that big, then why are we doing it? And then I start getting DMs and emails and text message, and one person even stopped by my house, which I'm a private guy, don't stop by my house, man. But no, I was outside grilling some steaks, so it was cool. He seen me out, pulled in. But these people, like, dude, it's changed my life, and I gave up on any kind of belief and faith years ago, and now I'm back to my faith, or I'm back to believing there is good in this world and there's hope. And it actually has spawned, not our doing, but one of our listeners was like, man, I want to start a men's group where we meet every Saturday morning at 6 a.m., sip some Black Rifle coffee, and talk over the Bible. And that's been going for around a month now. We're like 8 to 10 of us are meeting at a friend's house, and every Saturday morning. So we're seeing the positive effects it has. That's kind of what I'm doing mostly, and then a lot of work with Disabled Outdoorsmen, the ambassadorship there, and some of the things we have in the works that I'm excited to tell you. Sure. I really don't want to share right now, but it involves an ex-college athlete who was going to be an NFL player, and then through a tragic accident, losing his leg, just I think very close to the draft, right? It sounds like is coming on board, and some of the things he and I might be working on together. And then other than that, it's figuring this leg out, what we're going to do with it, and in the meantime, maybe and I'm going to pray on this, think on this, but maybe start doing more speaking. I do some public speaking and
so good.
And speak with some. My forte is athletic teams, specifically college athletics, with kind of how my career ended. And I've dabbled in that space, and the feedback from the athletes and the coaches was very humbling. So considering possibly doing some more of that and just trying to serve, man. Yeah. Basically. If I can just serve and be a positive light in a dark world, I'm good with it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've heard you speak. We had you in the draft league there with the West Virginia Black Bears, and Jed Jerko, I mean, former MLB player, he's all over it, I mean, after that game, we went out and tore it up. But, at hearing you speak and tell the story and things like that, you have a way of kind of not only getting the story across, but extremely impactful. And the flow of what you do and everything, it is just so inspirational to, it's like, what am I bitching about really at the end of the day? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's cool. And I like how you said, it is hard to keep that more narrow view of, like you said, if we're not a Joe Rogan or something like that, like, why are we doing it? I kind of resonate with that, because in the beginning, when, starting JH, it's, you're ready to go fight with the big dogs in media. It's just who I am, who we are. I'm coming after you, what I mean? But it's, I got to a point where it's like, dude, just stay in your lane. And like we've talked on a previous podcast before, it's like I used to whenever I was in spring training, we get on the 8-pack. And what the 8-pack is a big bullpen of 8 mounds.
Okay.
They're all lined up on each other, and they'll throw and things like that. And it's, I'm the guy who hasn't had, any instruction or anything like that. I'm like, oh, they're talking to that guy, they're talking to that. Well, let me do that, ever changing. And the thing that one of the coaches told me is like, do what you do best and perfect it. You know what I mean? And that's stuck with me forever. And I think that's what's really humbled me to just stay in my lane, and what's going to be cool is like we're going to have other, glove companies on this podcast and thing like that. And the biggest thing is like, I'm not competing with you.
Everybody can win, man.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not competing with you. And the fact that, we do something unique in our company. Yeah. And other than that, it's like, we've got a story to tell.
Yeah.
And we're really just interested in telling our story more than we are going out there to compete against your story or whatever your line of work is. I think we have everything from from the uniqueness of our brand to the culture that we're really trying to build with the individuals that we have associated with us. And when we go and keep in our lane, that's immediately when we started thriving.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And stay true to what we were doing and who we were.
Yeah.
And that's when everything, honestly, that's when things took off.
Yeah.
And it was very, very noticeable.
Yeah.
And I think that we get lost in the gamut, whether it be ego, like you've spoken about before, or, just passion to be the best. If you stay in your lane and you be consistent, that's a huge one. Everybody can do it for a minute.
Yeah.
But to continue day in, day out, doing the grind, doing the hard work, and keeping your focus, on the pinpoint,
on true north.
True north. Then that's where you're really going to make that leeway. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to go off the path and let me go try this path.
Yeah.
Shit, it might circle around in the beginning. You don't know.
Yeah.
But the one that's in front of you, the furthest away from what's behind you, is always going to take you further and further in the right direction. You know what I mean? So. It's really hard, but it's been, at the same time, the farther you get down your own path, the more natural it feels, the more realistic it feels to you, and you can feel like almost the magnetism of you getting closer to what you're really trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So it's been a crazy, it's been a fun, it's been a hard,
I can't imagine,
trail, but at the same time, when they always say when the trail starts to disappear, you're on the right one. Yeah. Because now you're making your own. Yeah. And I feel like that's where we're at, and creating this new path, and that's why I've been wanting to do a podcast for a while, and I think it was right timing. To do this, but we're having these dynamic conversations in all directions. Again, we're not out here just pumping our brand because it's more than us. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're bringing other brands on. We're bringing other individuals on that are kind of doing their own thing. And just like you said, like we're just having a conversation. Yeah. And that's what we want to have. We want to get to know the real life individuals. Yeah. Nothing pumped up, like just... we call it the cut for a reason. Yeah. Of just being absolutely true, and even if we're talking about paper cuts. Yeah.
It's just a foot.
Yeah. So we can't thank you enough for being on, man. This is really
I'm
cool.
honored. I'm honored, and I'll guess I'll just kind of close with this. To your audience, a couple, I guess, things I've always remembered, or quotes that I go to, like this morning I woke up and my left knee's so stiff, and I roll out and try to put weight on it, and you feel like you're just going to kind of go down, and all right, another day, we get to fight this. But two quotes I live by, and I share them pretty much every time I do speak. First is what Nietzsche said when he said, "He who has the why to live for can bear most anyhow." If your why is true enough, that is enough power that it doesn't matter how. Okay? The culture and what you're creating with JH Performance and JH Pro Gloves, the why is true enough. It doesn't matter how, because the why will carry you through when you don't know how you're going to fund it, how you're going to make the deal. The why will see you through. And the next one is a quote by Marcus Luttrell, former Navy SEAL, the movie The Lone Survivor. And this one, man, it carried me through my amputation and the pain and learning to walk again for like the 15th time. But it says, no matter how much it hurts, how dark it gets, or how far you fall, you are never out of the fight. And that is true, man, because in life, it is going to get dark. You're going to fall, have to pick yourself back up again. But no matter the pain, the distance you fall, you are truly never out of the fight. And that's what I hope your listeners take from our time together.
Yeah, for sure. Where can they follow you on social media? Yeah,
at Instagram, you can find me at Tate Hale, TateHale. Facebook, same thing, Tate Hale. Those are pretty much the only two platforms I rock. And if any way I can serve you or help you in any way, don't hesitate to shoot me a DM, and we'll see how we can make it happen for you.
That's a true statement. He does follow up on his DMs. He does get back to you. And he's very, very true to what he's saying on that. So appreciate you watching the cut. Like, follow, subscribe. It's been awesome. Tate, thank you. Appreciate it. Love you. All right, we'll see you next time on the cut.
JH forever, forever. From the jump, the fam showed up, showed out. New friends, real